Everybody, Pete Damaski, one half of the great team at Bully Finance. Hey guys, if you like what you hear in this video, come check us out at bullyfinance.com. What we're here to do is to introduce topics relating to business, corporate finance in a fun way. We'll tell a little bit of a story to kick off the 5 or 7 minute editing, and then what we're going to do is we're going to transition about halfway through into meat and potatoes of corporate finance. So here we go. So it just came in for a run, so I'm excited to be on Belief here. Okay, so here's the story, guys. It's April 2021, and we're talking about expectations. First of all, in our first module that Bully Finance presents in corporate finance, we know that basically a firm has to put a firm is a function of a series of successful investments, right? An investment, the key to investment is having an expected return greater than the cost. So my question to you is that how do we develop these expectations, right? So I'm thinking to myself as I was going for a walk this morning about how I have a cell phone. And you know what? Forecasting the weather now, it's no fun. You know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly the minute and the second it's going to happen. There's no mystery. If remember 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where people would be saying, boy, I didn't know this was going to happen. I forgot my raincoat, or, I overdressed or did whatever. I know exactly what's me. So things like the weather, there's no expectations. We know for a fact what's going to happen, right? So then what we do is the two very short stories I'll tell you guys is that look to see what happened after COVID-19 started off, right? So, like many of you, you get a haircut. Now, you can see I have a beautiful head of hair here. And at the end of the day, from February 2020, I didn't go to my regular haircutting place, a barbershop with 3 chairs, for probably 6 months, right? So people got their hair cut at home. You let your hair grow. Like my friends from Wall Street look like they're from Planet of the Apes or something like that. And at the end of the day, you know, that industry was massively impacted. So I went to my barbershop after 6 months and I asked the 3 guys that work the chairs, I said, how's things going? And this is at 6 months. So this is from February to maybe August. And they said their business is off like 70%. The state closed them down for 4 months, that they weren't even allowed to be open. The regular people that come in every 2 weeks, they dried up. And you're talking about a business that when we're developing expectations about their revenue stream, okay, over a period of time, no one would have even thought that this was going to happen, right? So I transition that little story into a story that happened last night. I go to my dentist, and I'm reasonably okay friends with my dentist, right? So I'm talking to him about his business. And he says, well, now it's April 2021. He said, obviously last year was a very rough year because they were forced to close. People weren't going to the dentist, right? And at the end of the day, he came back and he said third and fourth quarters in the current part of the year is actually running as well as what they did when they were running good. So basically, this is an industry where there's a need, and people, obviously have toothaches and need their teeth cleaned, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, that industry for him at least came back. The problem is that on the expense side, he says now the expenses for all the stuff like the PPE and stuff like that is he's getting killed. So his margins are shrinking. So in terms of, like, let's go back to the theme of expectations. The theme of expectations is that we no longer have to worry about things like the weather. I have that locked down. The barber was closed for 6 months with no income, zero income. The dentist, his office was closed for a period of time. He came back slowly. Now they're back full time. And what we're doing is we're trying to get a handle on predicting this stuff. So now we go to corporate finance. And I say to you, we have to always remember that at the core of a business is a series of investments that produce value. And that production of value is equal to where I have expected revenues, expected returns. Let's take out the revenue. Expected return is greater than the cost. So how do we derive that expected return? Okay, and this is very important. Okay, because at the end of the day, I suggest to you guys to add value to yourself when you're going out to interview, when you're looking for that development, that next opportunity, share some perspective with the prospective employer to talk about a world of uncertainty. And you can do it because business doesn't work deterministically. If I knew exactly what was going to happen, I'd be able to predict it, but you can't do that. And now in April 2021, I'll give you two examples of what's happening today. And I'm probably going to forget the second one because I'm so excited. But the first is, how do you forecast the yield curve? So everybody who's taken finance notices that there's a term structure of yields from overnight out to basically 30 years. And along that yield curve, there's a price term relationship that derives that curve. So I'm a bank, I'm a financial institution that is going to make a loan, and I need to make a 10-year loan. And first of all, I have to decide, well, wait a second, is that 10-year loan actually a 10-year asset? And the answer to that question is no, because there's a lot of options that can impact a loan. And therefore, I don't need 10-year money. But as soon as I go out and I say I'm going to fund this at some point from 10 years inside, what happens is that as soon as I said that word coming out, the shape of the yield curve turns. And over the weekend, we were looking in the last 2 months of the shape of the yield curve going up. And we're forecasting inflationary pressures, right? Over the weekend, okay, what is today's date? It's about the 20th of April. So let's go back about 4 or 5 days. And at the end of the day, okay, there were indications coming out of India that COVID-19 was making a big time rebound. And as a matter of fact, April 20th, the news is that India has the most COVID-19 cases on a per day basis than they've ever had. So here's the story. Now all of a sudden the economy is getting scared. And everybody who's thinking that that yield curve is going to be raised up and we're going to have inflationary pressures and the Fed is going to have to follow, the fact is that the Fed is reiterating a low curve. And so the market just turned yesterday, right? And this impacts everything, right? So what I want to do to you guys is just say, think about basic real life expectations, real life of, hey, do I take an umbrella out? I don't have to worry about that. Hey, I have a business that there's no way the stream of income could change, like a barber. Okay, but yet that stream of income was more than halved, okay, in 2020. You can't believe this stuff. The dentist, okay, slow to come back, now fully coming back, but then on the expense side, okay, the expenses are going up. Understand that investment returns have to be greater than the cost. And this is what investment's all about. So, hey guys, don't go into a battle of wits when you're talking with a hiring manager, when you're talking with your peers. Come to the table with ideas as to what could happen and what uncertainties could happen in the marketplace. And remember, if you like what you see, come check us out at bullyfinance.com. Take care, guys, and have a nice evening.